This is light work. Come on, spill the tea. Yeah. Ooh.
Hey y'all,
What's good?
I'm Laura.
And I'm Dee. And welcome to Spill the Tea with Laura and Dee.
What's our topic?
I'm glad you asked. Our candid convo for today, the future of home renovations in Atlanta.
What's coming down the pipeline in
Oh
2025?
my gosh.
So I like this topic because I feel like this topic works if you're selling, if you're decorating, or if you're renovating. I feel like if you have a house, this is an important topic for you to understand,
Right.
especially if you're trying to do something in 2025.
Right, that's for sure.
Let's start with some of the trends.
Okay,
Some of the big things we're seeing.
5 of the things that we're seeing are spa-like bathrooms. So we're seeing some of those subway tiles come back. We're seeing modern upgrades in demand, like cooler neutrals, black marble, walk-in showers all together, because even now they have those designs where the tub is in the walk-in shower.
Our new
really
construction
eating
is
up
that.
these walk-in showers.
Yeah. So with the spa wellness spaces in your home, I think what we're finding is a lot of people don't have time to go out anymore, right? So they're bringing in those spaces. They want to feel like
it's freaking hard out here.
It is. And when you're home, you want to feel like you're in a spa, in a retreat. I hear that so often when I am working with a buyer. What is, give me one of your 5 must-haves.
Right.
That's coming up on people's list often is a spa-like space because they don't have time to go to the spa twice a month. So they want to be able to relax in this beautiful space in their home, candles lit. They want the decorations to be nice. They want it to feel good. They want it to feel like they're not at home.
Right. I feel like something that's probably on that same wavelength, like people not really wanting to like go out as much or, go to the spa as much, the outdoor spaces. Right.
Great lead-in.
You've got like these outdoor living spaces, and people are really trying to like invest into their outdoor living space. And you can think about it from the standpoint of, instead of going to Blue Ridge every year, just go into your backyard, have some kind of routine or ritual with your family. And then from there, it's like you don't have to do that extra trip, and then you can just go one less time.
Yes, and I think 2020 kind of started a lot of these trends for us because you couldn't go anywhere, right?
Fair enough.
And so the last 2 houses that I've listed, well, one is coming up next week, but the sellers were so excited about their outdoor space because they were seeing people spend a lot more money on that exterior space because, again, instead of going away, right now the trend is to be at home.
Right.
2020 has really pushed that. We have, I think we have a lot of people that enjoy being at home, and I think there was a lot of
called hermits.
Yes, but not really. Just a little bit of a decompression feel, because I feel like as Americans we're always on the go. We always want to be at the next best spa. We always want to be at the next best place.
Right.
And we're finding a lot of these trends are changing. People want to be home. They're eating dinner at home. So where do they need a place to eat dinner? Well, nobody wants to eat just in the dining room or in the kitchen every night. So they're creating these outdoor spaces where they can enjoy through, early winter when it's not cold. You can light the fireplace, that sort of thing. Gathering time for family. So 2020 brought a lot more home gatherings back.
Right.
In place where people aren't going to restaurants to meet with friends. They're coming home.
Right.
And they're having parties at home and spaces at home.
Yes.
And
the home
really
party trend has really picked
the home
up.
Body trend is coming back thanks to 2020. But I think a lot of people are creating spaces to feel like they are at other places outside of their home. And you're seeing that a lot in short-term rentals. So if you're working on a short-term rental space and you can hear that noise, that's the dog ripping her toy. If you're looking for a short-term rental or you are renovating, those wellness areas in the outdoor living is where you want to focus on, because that's what's really, really, really attracting people to those spaces.
Right. And I feel like something that just makes that, what do I want to call it, kind of like ass backwards too, is like land is becoming so much more valuable
People finally realize they're not making any more.
Right.
That's
And it's
finally-
like the size of the house is decreasing, right? The size of like lots are decreasing because
Correct.
we need more houses, right?
Correct.
So it's just like land is becoming so much more valuable, whereas we want it even more now.
Well, correct. And at one point, you wanted a big backyard, right? Like that
Right.
was super valuable. But now, as a
It's
consumer,
different.
it's different. You
Mhm.
don't necessarily need a big backyard. You need a space,
Right.
right? People used to look for, oh, I need a basement to send my kids to.
Right.
Now they want an outside space to send their kids to. You don't hear, you know, it's, oh, a basement. You still hear about that. But again, if you're renovating, if you're looking to make some money in real estate, that outdoor space and then.
Did you ever grow up in a household where you had to like leave and come back for dinner?
My house rule was everyone can come here and they can go home for dinner.
Fair enough. Yeah, I tried to get us out to play more often, play with the neighbors, hang out, like learn. Now it's different. It's like people don't feel as comfortable to send their kids out. And
Well,
like,
they're busy, right? Parents
fair
are
enough.
busy.
That's a good point.
And so I try to explain that to buyers all the time. I'll hear, you know, a mom who's got a baby in the belly or a young couple, and they're like, oh, we want this big backyard for cute little kids. I'm like, do you know what your cute little kids do to your schedule? Like, outside does not exist, okay? Let me be very fucking clear. When you have those little ankle biters that you think are going to go throw the baseball in the backyard, no. You're at the park throwing the baseball because you just spent 10 grand on the baseball fees for the season. Not the year of the season, right? And so having a gathering space for a family is more important now than having play space. And I'm not saying that there aren't families that still go throw the baseball, right? There's always going to be the exception to the rule. But if you're looking to, you know, I say when you're creating a space, think about the buyer funnel, right? Where do you end up on that funnel? A big backyard's going to get you, you know, that's falling lower and lower and lower on buyers' list of importance. Whereas that space, right? A good patio, a good fire pit, some kind of sitting space, just a space for the backyard for the family to gather is super important.
Right.
You know what my favorite is?
What?
Textures and colors.
Really?
I am so excited.
I like colors. Textures, I probably don't pick up as much just because I'm not as big on design. You're a big design.
Yes. So textures make a space feel warm, right? That's what takes a space, in my opinion, right now, and I love it. Like, I think we are seeing designs on ceilings come back. Feature walls are definitely still a thing, but I think you're finding that the design element in the room, so wallpaper.
Right.
Color.
Oh, yeah. I never thought wallpaper was going to come back until like...
It's here.
Right.
Like the 70s. For 2025, they are expecting to see the 70s all over again. Flower wallpaper. Loving that. Peel and stick, though. That's kind of cool. It's not quite as big of a commitment with the peel and stick as the wallpaper is. So that's really, really... Something else that we're seeing are kind of color-filled rooms. So you may have a really neutral space.
Right.
Or a really neutral home. Lots of earth tones. But then you will see a office or a bedroom or a space in the home with just all this color of pop, which I think is very cool. And so when you're looking at the colors, colored cabinets. Yes, I think you're going to start to see a lot of design.
We're thinking about color in our cabinets.
Well, it's people are moving away, right? So for the last 20 years, it's been agreeable gray and white. Right. So we're starting to see people kind of come away from that. And I think the beginning of 2024, we saw a lot of colored islands. You'd still have the white or neutral cabinets, and your island was your pop of color.
Right.
We are starting to see those design trends move towards green cabinets in the whole kitchen or blue cabinets in the whole kitchen. I saw yellow one the other day. I was like, well, that's a lot of yellow. I'm not sure about all that.
Yeah. One thing to your point, I think nature is kind of like...
Outside
does that add to the texture?
It does. So when you're adding texture or when you're adding softness, you're looking at fabrics. So do you remember what it was like when I hung the curtains up in the room in here? How it just changed this whole...
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I forgot about that. That's right.
Think about when I don't have the leashes hung up there, how cold that corner looks. But when you add that leather to the hanger, right? All of a sudden it takes the space and ties
I never really
it in
picked
together.
up on like why, because it's like, yeah, it's one thing to have like a bare wall and then put something up, but it's like the put up kind of, it does.
A lot.
And I've been seeing more of like, you know, a lot of the times it's fake plants, but you see real plants as well just coming inside, and it's like, well, it kind of serves two purposes. It's one, extra thing that I don't know. Sometimes people just like to have something to care for.
A lot of people, caring for plants is a habit, but a lot of people like plants in their home for cleanliness of air. So there are certain plants, like
Except for
when
them
you...
damn sometimes.
My house does not have gnats. Let me be very clear.
It just depends
It
on the
might
type
have
of damn
flies because we
plant.
leave the back door open.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, when you walk into my entryway of my home, it is filled with plants.
Right.
Right? Why? Because the first thing that I want you to feel when you walk into my home is fresh air.
Right.
Right? That is important to me as a homeowner. I want you to feel warm. I want you to feel comfortable. It brings nature in. So most people
You
don't
think
know
through all these decorations, don't you?
how long it takes me to design a space.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, there's a reason, because it's got to be the perfect thing, right? I don't just go and, I mean, sometimes I'll hop on and be, oh, this is just a good filler or whatever.
Right.
80% of what is designed in my house or my space and the spaces that I use, there's a lot of thought that goes behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something that I do see that is crossing trend lines, you are seeing a lot of modern trends cross over into a more craftsman feel. So modern is going to be, like contemporary, that very clean, very straight feel. You're seeing a lot of black windows.
Right.
So black makes it very hard, right?
Seeing a lot of black.
Everything.
Black, gold, white.
Correct. That's a very contemporary, very modern feel. We are seeing that integrated with a more craftsman design.
Right.
So you're seeing modern
So is that
trends.
like wicker type stuff?
That's craftsman is the design. Wicker is going to be more of like a boho. Right, so that's the trend that's coming. That's the elements that you're designing with, or whatever. And so, the wicker, the like the little poofy things, the little cottony looking. I don't know if you can see my little things over there.
Oh,
right, my little feather looking things,
yeah.
my reeds. You see a lot of the plants. To your point, you see a lot of rope.
Right.
So you're seeing a lot of. I feel like I had something with rope the other day.
I feel like I should take this
remember.
little poofy thing
and show them my poofy thing. Right, and so that'll be a boho design. Those colors, those looks, that's what you call that.
That's cute. That actually does add, to your point, texture.
It does.
To
It
the
adds
room.
texture. And I think that you're seeing a lot of people move into that texture, because for a long time everybody was farmhouse chic.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of us that aren't actually farmhouse chic. I don't want a fucking duck in my house. Okay,
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I'll take a cow.
Right.
But I don't want a duck in my house, right? I
No
don't
duck.
want, farmhouse chic is going to have that 1980s, the curves to all the furniture, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the little design at the ear.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that boho design doesn't.
Right.
Right, boho, still same colors, same feel, same warmness. Like when you walk into a farmhouse chic or a boho feel, you're going to walk into a very warm space.
Right.
Whereas if it's contemporary, it's going to feel very cold, feels very sterile, in my opinion. You're seeing those design elements cross, where to your point, you've got the real dark, the blacks, the straight edges, but then they're going to add something that warms up that space, and it's usually a texture, a fabric of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like I'm wondering if a lot of this is, one, people aren't really moving as often, I feel like, and then...
Do you know why?
Can I say it's hard out here for a pimp?
That's the wrong answer. Interest rates.
Oh,
Interest
yeah.
rates. The
That's
average human moves every 7 years, and right now, 70% of our country has an interest rate of 4% or
Right,
less,
so it's
and
like
35% of our country has an
the
interest
only
rate.
folks really
less
moving
than
right
three.
now, I guess, if you think about it, would be folks that had an interest rate before they started cutting rates,
Or if they have to.
or if they have to, or if they didn't have a home to begin with.
Well, they're not
If they
moving,
were
they're just
renting.
buying.
Right.
So they're part of the problem. They're part of the problem.
And
Yes.
so, with folks kind of staying in the house longer, one, you kind of think more about the design.
Correct. How do
and
you
then
make that space more
two,
comfortable?
And two, even on that, how do you make the space work as you grow with your family goals?
Correct.
Right? Because it doesn't stop people from having babies and getting married and
It does not.
shoot, even having friend relationships. I don't know.
Relationships? How about just shacking?
Right, but it's just like, you start to think through the different design elements, because
Right.
it's like you still want a home. You want to come home and feel the homeliness.
Correct. And you brought up something earlier that I think is important to think about as we move into 2025 and years past that. We are going, right now, we have something in this country called a single family home, right? We are going to move to multi-family or multi-generational homes. We don't have a choice. The cost of living and inflation is getting too expensive. And
has California already seen it?
So California is one of 4 states that actually have multi-family designations on their homes. I think there's 4. I think there are 4 states that have this multi-family designation. But when you think about that, and so if you're renovating, if you're designing a space, if you're building a home, if you're kind of thinking about real estate in the next 10 years, you need to be thinking about those in your spaces. And you brought up a really good point. Homes are getting smaller. Right? Because people can't, the average person can't afford 3,500 square feet or more, right? They're affording less and putting more people in those spaces. And so the spa-like bathrooms, the outdoor living space, creating spaces that can be utilized for more than one purpose and easily shifted. I just think that we are going to start to see more and more multi-purpose spaces. The outdoor living space is probably the easiest one to focus. And so I think that as you design spaces in your room, in your homes, you're going to find that that's necessary. And something that I am not seeing on the internet yet, no one's talking about it, but it is probably my favorite design element, is multi-purpose, like smaller spaces. So you're seeing like doors, like pantry doors. And instead of just being a door, it is now a focal point in the kitchen. I like that because not only is it a design element, it adds functionality to the house. And we're just talking about people staying in their houses more, growing in their house. That's more space you can just take advantage of. Tell me about these color mix forecast palettes. Yes. So Sherwin-Williams and other paint designers are going to set the stage for what next year is going to look like, right?
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, it's not us. It's not a trend. Sherwin-Williams sets it. Somebody in the design world sets it. And so in years past, I've always noticed there's like a color of the year, right? When Joanna Gaines was popular, we were seeing every human in the United States knew the color agreeable gray. Guess what? That's what's on the walls behind me. Is the color. And so now we are actually seeing more of a palette line, right? So here are the color trends. We're seeing a lot of warm colors come out, a lot of earth tones come out with, again, that pop of color. And so right now you're seeing chrysalis, which is more of your earth tones. It's going to be tans, it's going to be browns.
I see.
It's going to be colors that feel really, really warm and comfortable. Those are your spa-like colors a lot of times. When you walk into a spa, you see green, you see a lot of browns, like a bamboo color. You see a lot of rock, you see a lot of water, you see a lot of plants. Normally sounds, there's normally all of these different things that are hitting your senses. That's what your chrysalis palette is going to feel like. Your next palette is Paradox, which is where
that
some colors come in.
Like the pastel feel to it. It's got a pastel feel to it.
Yes.
It's fun. Definitely fun. Now, if you were to give me Paradox and then look at the house afterwards, we're going to be like, David.
Well, you don't get to design anything.
David.
So let's just be... Lexi's in charge of your house. Lexi is 100% in charge.
I have
of your
these
house.
colors all over the place on the ceiling.
So that's in.
Okay, well.
Textured ceilings are in. Colored ceilings are in.
Oh, that's funny.
Wellspring was another really good one that we are seeing. That's going to give you a little bit more of your contemporary, your modern, a lot more blacks, a lot more whites, a lot more.
That makes sense.
A lot more clean lines in those spaces. And then your Kindred package. Blue is in right now. And that's where that color is going to, so it's that's going to be your palette where you're going to bring in some blues. So we're seeing a lot of yellows, a lot of blues.
You know what time it is?
What's that?
Question quickies.
Yay, what is everybody asking today?
All right.
They was nosy last week. Let's see how nosy they are about the housing market this week.
Yes, so what are the current market trends and drivers in Atlanta? And how might they impact property values over the next 5 to 10 years? So I'm really going to focus on this 5 to 10 years down the line. So some of these trends that we're seeing, are they fads or are they still going to kind of add value later down the line, and not just design trends? So I guess, current market trends. So over in California, we're seeing, not necessarily multi-family houses, but like designations of multiple families being in a single property.
Correct.
Is that a trend that we'll see over the next 5 to 10 years? And personally, I think you'll just see it expand from the West to the East Coast over the next 5 to 10 years.
So if you want to know where we're headed, in a city like Atlanta, look at cities like New York, look at cities like San Francisco, cities out in bigger cities where pricing is up. That's where everybody's trying to get to, right?
How long have we known each other? Ooh, that's a hard question.
A decade almost? 10 years?
Oh, yeah. You know what? That might be.
You were one of my very first clients.
Yeah.
I got my real estate license in 2015. So
And it was before I was fully a CPA, and that was 2016. So, yeah, it's been almost 10 years. If not 10 years. Wow.
Almost 10.
Right. So, about 10 years ago, when I was first looking at houses, the first thing I noticed was over in the bigger markets, like in California and New York and in Texas, you would find finishes would really add value to the property. Whereas you came down here to Atlanta, when I was looking for a house, I'm like, this house looks less finished than the other house, and it's more expensive.
So that is a trend that has changed in the Atlanta market since I got my license. Location matters. Right? And one of the trends that are changing here in the Atlanta market, which I'm excited about, is the home's sales price actually reflecting condition. I think if you're wanting to maximize your dollar, there's 4 ways I classify a house: A plus, A minus, B. Okay, A plus. Joanna Gaines kissed her, and I use her name all the time just because everybody knows her. But it's a home that somebody has renovated and staged.
Right.
The and staged part matters, because we're building that.
Because you got to be able to visually see it. When you have someone, a potential buyer coming in.
Correct. And the staging absolutely 100% maximizes the sales price, which is why new construction always has a few of their models.
Same model for their pictures, and then they come and put you in some other house that's not staged.
That's not, and have all the upgrades, right?
They know what they're doing.
Correct. There's a reason that builders use it, and I wish more sellers would actually think about using it, right? Our new construction will be staged.
Right.
Like, we have a company that is coming in and staging. It's very important. It maximizes your dollar.
Right.
That is an A plus house. Then you have an A minus house. That is a builder grade house. Okay, the builders come in. They've done the kitchen. It looks great. They've probably done the master bathroom. It looks great, but everything else in the house is bleh. B minus is that builder grade house 10 years down the road. Okay, some of your systems are starting to get old. Right. There's
design is kind of falling out of style.
Correct. Right. And then B minus is going to be a home that needs a complete renovation. You could live in it, right? It is livable. Right. But like in 5 years, you're not going to be relevant anymore. In 5 years, you're slipping below livable, now more into, I really am no longer relevant in this market. If your neighbor's house was amazing and your house is not, you're not getting the amazing house price. Buyers care about condition. Right. I would say watch condition, right? So that is going to be a big price setter for trends.
And I don't even see that changing.
It's going to only get worse.
Right.
It's only going to get worse. Buyers are, especially with interest rates being high, being relevant, right? To your point, having the idea that grandma and grandpa may need to move in with us. So you're going to start seeing, and we're seeing this, 2020 helped a little bit with this, but I think you're going to start see it to shift even more. Whereas 2020, people started bringing back the home office, right? Oh, yeah. Now, I think you're going to start to see that shift where as we move into 2025 and the next, decade past that, you're going to start to see the shift where maybe attic spaces start getting finished for kids and grandparents start taking the main level. But that trend happened in the 90s when builders realized that families enjoyed a flex space upstairs and they didn't care about the odd shape that the roof made in that space, right? So if you look at a house in the 80s, all rooms are square and they're all closed off. You move over into the 90s, you start to see where some of those spaces normally would not have been finished because the roof was weird or whatever. And so I do think we're going to start to see more and more same size house. Where can we pull more square footage from?
Right.
It's the attic.
Right.
Not as a guess, that's an assumption, but I do think that's what you're going to see.
I think one room that I used to always just think was very weird and was just like, why would someone want this? And now being older and kind of wanting it, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, it's either used as like a family playroom for the kids or like an office, but it's always like a square and then the pitch of the roof.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
those
just,
weird flex spaces that would not have been finished in the 80s.
Right. But if you think about now, like all of the trends we're having, and even if you think about the job market, a lot of folks working from home, it's like, well, who gives a fuck if you have a triangle above you? It's
not off.
Right. It's like that's an office space.
I want the square footage.
Right.
Correct. And building those out, and I think you're even going to start to see like shelving come in, right? Because I could build a niche in a wall,
right,
and put tchotchkes or whatever.
Right. Or even stuff that's been sitting on the floor.
Right.
Next question, and I feel like we've probably answered this a little bit.
That's okay.
What type of properties, for example, single family, multifamily, commercial, are yielding the highest ROI in this market right now?
Multifamily. I won't buy single right now. Not if it's long-term hold. Short-term rental, I'll look at single family, but long-term hold, I'm looking at an 11 unit property right now. Like, I will not do.
Yeah, even a duplex.
Correct.
Right? Triplex, anything.
I think that one of your hottest trends right now is going to be buying duplexes and quads, because in the next 10 years, that's where you have multifamilies.
Exactly. And then if you think about that, with them being connected, you could still put a single family in.
Correct. If you so choose, it's a great option for a first-time home buyer.
Right.
Go in, buy a multifamily, live in one, rent out the other three, and you have no bills. You have no mortgage.
My pair of pennies on commercial. So it depends on what kind of commercial, because industrial may not be a part of what I'm about to say, but when you think about commercial, a lot of the need for commercial spaces isn't there like it was prior to 2020, right? You don't have people working in offices as much anymore. You have them working at home. Correct. You don't have, like even retail. Retail therapy is still a thing, but there's so much retail therapy off of just Amazon,
online,
Temu, like all these different online retailers. Right. And it's just like you don't need as much of a commercial space because it's just to go out there and fucking window shop. The other thing that I could see, and even to your point, bringing stuff back, you could do that in warehouses.
Correct.
Right. So when you think about industrial real estate, I think that's probably going to do much more. That's going to do much better than commercial, just from the standpoint of you still have all of these companies that are needing to put stuff somewhere. We're so used to seeing the stuff online, not realizing it's got to sit somewhere. And then when they're shipping it, it's still got to sit somewhere else until they're getting it to your place.
Well, and something else to think about is AI. AI is constantly taking over jobs, because I think to your point, I think there's going to be a lot of businesses that don't need 4 or 5 employees.
Right.
I'm one of them.
Right.
Right? Like, I've got my 3 people in my back office, and really and truly, once AI is totally finished being implemented, I won't need any more than that. Those 3 humans should be able to run my business at a super high level.
Right.
Whereas I would say that before AI took over, to run as efficiently as we do for our clients, I probably would need about 9 people in the back office, all doing different things. And
right. Speaking of AI, I didn't mention this, but I was working on some automations, and as I was going through it, there was like an AI chatbot that came in, and as I was building something out, it was like, oh, were you looking for this field? Were you looking for this field? Were you looking for...
As a matter of fact, I was. Very helpful.
So to your point, it's just like, I mean, if you think about just automating your business, you used to have a whole team dedicated to that. And now it's just like there are so many AI related tools that take a lot of the coding out.
But I do, even though AI is great, I do still believe in hiring a professional.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Because AI only does so much. It really helps assist something that you already know how to do.
Correct. So I'll be interested to see what happens in commercial. It'll be a fun thing to watch over the next. Real estate's going to be awesome. Real estate as a whole is going to change over the next 10 years. And the top 3 things people are afraid of: death, public speaking, and change. Those are your top 3 fears.
Change is
interesting to watch because so many people are afraid of change that I think you're going to find.
And there's a lot of big changes coming down.
Correct, and I think you're going to find a lot of people holding on to old thought process. Right. And I'm so excited to see the face of real estate over the next 10 years. But it's true. A lot of people in real estate, they think like they did back in the 80s, and they're trying to shift, but they're so far behind the shift that they're just not catching up.
I feel like that pigeonholes you though, because I think what people forget is that there are generational shifts.
Correct.
Every so many years, like that's why we look at 5 to 10 years at a time.
Correct.
You get 2 10-year periods. You've got a whole new generation stepping in. These centennials coming up, and that's a whole different mindset.
I'm not ready for that.
All right. What are the biggest demand indicators from buyers and renters, and how do they align with available properties and future development plans? So that's a very funny worded question.
I don't know if I understand that question. Say it again.
So what's leading to the demand of buyers and renters? So what's bringing new home buyers into the market, and
fear.
What's bringing them into the market?
Most buyers that we talk to today that are first-time home buyers are fearful that in 5 years, if they don't buy today,
they won't be
able to even afford their rent. I think that you're going to see fear drive a lot of your buyers. And now that the interest rates are coming down, because interest rates are going down, so buyers are hopping in. There's 7 million buyers waiting to buy right now. And a lot of them are first-time home buyers, right? With that fear factor driving them.
And a lot of that's very much relate to that fear. I know a couple of them personally, and all they ask is, I just
want a house.
Yeah, how do you get into a house? How do you rent? How do you buy? And it's to your point, I like how you're looking at the 5 years down the line, because Lexi and I are in a similar situation. We don't love where we stay at, but at the end of the day,
I don't love where you stay either.
At the end of the day, because we own and because we're building up equity, it's like, okay, well, we've been there 2 years. By the time we hit our third year, right? By the time we hit our third year, we're in that much better of a situation to move. And then it's like worst case scenario. Okay, to your point, we just stay like another 2 years, so they're 5 years, and it's just like there's not a lot you can't. There's a lot more you can do if you just stay 5 years in a house and just build up equity.
Correct.
Right.
I agree.
We did a good job talking about plan for transitioning to another house once you bought the house, but how do you get to that first house?
Me?
Oh yeah, realtor. I would add on to that. I would say go ahead and get with a realtor and specifically ask about lending, because you're really going to want to talk to a good lender so that they can give you a good idea of what you can or can't afford today and how to change that.
And with the right lender and the right agent, you can buy a house with this much money.
Yeah.
I love when a client writes an earnest money check and at the closing table they get it back.
Yep.
It's a little bit of work, and 100% financing doesn't work for everybody, and it doesn't work in every area.
That's where that 5-year plan comes in. It's like, to your point, you're almost walking in with negative equity, but at the end of the day, you have a house.
Be there for 5 years, and you won't be
just stick
negative.
to the plan.
Correct. 7 years in a house that you own that you hate is better than 7 years homeless.
Don't think about that. And it's so you can own a home and rent. And I feel like people assume, I can't do that because I don't have enough credit for that. It's like, they don't look at it that way.
Listen, buy it as your first home, right? It's going to be your first home. It's your primary residence.
Right.
There's terms in the you have to rent, live there for so many years, but I'm not telling you to break laws or go cause fraud, but know that if you buy a home and you don't live in it, nobody's going to come take it from you.
Right.
Right? If the intent is to live in it and then you don't, that is okay. Like rent it out. If you don't, if you want to do it completely the right way, then pay a little bit more in interest and get a loan where it allows you to rent it out, right? Get a loan that is an investment loan. Like, especially if it's my first house, I think, I'm buying it to live there. If you change your mind, you change.
Right. Lexi and I thought about it. The HOA is not going to allow it.
The rent, yeah. So I understand it's going to feel like you lose money in the first 3 years of a rent house, okay? Because you got to replace stuff. I get that, right? Like, people don't understand long-term rentals. Your profit doesn't come in the first 5 years.
It's the same having that 5-year plan when you buy a house.
Correct. 14 more years that you own that home, that's 14 years of equity. I guarantee you your kid can pay cash or pay college if you sell that house. And more than likely in 14 years, not only do you have the money sitting aside for college, you probably have a down payment for their next house sitting in that batch of money. And there's tax ramifications. This is where you come in place. There are ways that you can mitigate that and make sure that the money's used properly. Did we answer that question?
Yes,
I felt
we
like
did.
that was a little confusing.
We did.
I want to make sure we have a good answer.
That brings us to the end of our episode for today.
We did it.
Yes.
Yay.
Thanks for joining us today for Spill the Tea with Laura and Dee. And as always, if you have a question for a realtor or a tax professional, drop us a comment and we will get to it in one of our future videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about us.
Most importantly, though, send us more questions. I'm looking and I can only see 3 questions, so
yes,
we need some
send
more
us some
viewer
more
questions. We want to know what you guys want to talk about so that we are answering your questions.
And a correction from our last video: it is not historichomies.com. It is hhdeals with a z.com.
So it's what?
hhdeals
with a Z.
We'll have it up on the screen. It'll be on the screen of the last one too. Thanks for joining. See y'all on the next one.
This is light work. Come on.